weeks, there was talk that the lead singer of the group Queen had that disease. Mercury said that he wouldn't confirm those rumors until the end for reasons of privacy.
The wrong impression of me because it's the media basically built me up being a real ogre and a tyrant on stage because of the way I come across on stage, you know.
Because he looked like a skeleton towards the end.
New details about Freddie Mercury's final performance were revealed, and it's not good. Nobody knew they were watching Freddie Mercury's final bow when 120,000 fans gathered at Knebworth Park that August day in 1986.
Thank you, beautiful people. You've been tremendous. You've been a really special audience. Thank you very much. Good night, sweet dreams. We love you.
2 weeks earlier, when a reporter asked if he'd return to Budapest, Mercury had cryptically replied something that would haunt everyone who heard it.
If I'm still alive, I will come back.
He was already sensing his mortality. What happened in those final years would reveal a deliberate industry cover-up that kept the world in the dark about one of music's greatest tragedies. By November 1991, the truth could no longer be hidden, and what emerged was more devastating than anyone imagined. So let's get into it. August 9th, 1986 would go down as one of the most significant concerts in rock history, but for all the wrong reasons. The massive crowd at Knebworth Park had no idea they were witnessing the end of an era. Freddie Mercury took the stage wearing his iconic yellow military jacket, his energy seemingly boundless as he commanded the audience with his usual theatrical flair. The performance was electric, with Queen delivering their greatest hits to a crowd that stretched beyond the horizon. Behind the scenes, however, a different story was unfolding. Mercury had been feeling increasingly unwell throughout the Magic Tour, though he kept these concerns hidden from his bandmates and the public. The singer's cryptic comment to a Budapest journalist just 2 weeks prior, responding to a question about returning with a casual mention of whether he'd still be alive, now took on an ominous meaning that would haunt those who heard it. The Knebworth performance itself was flawless from the audience's perspective. Mercury prowled the massive stage with his characteristic swagger, his voice soaring through classics like Radio Gaga, Bohemian Rhapsody, and We Are the Champions. He interacted with the crowd as if drawing energy from their enthusiasm, never letting them see the exhaustion that was beginning to plague him off stage. The finale featured an emotional rendition of God Save the Queen, with Mercury appearing in his ceremonial robes and crown, seemingly saying goodbye to his adoring fans, without them realizing the true significance of the moment. What made this farewell even more tragic was that nobody thought to properly document it. Despite having 17 cameras positioned throughout the venue and a massive screen capturing every angle for the live audience, someone made the catastrophic decision not to press record on the professional equipment. The oversight was discovered too late, leaving the performance undocumented except for scattered news footage and bootleg recordings. The only substantial visual evidence that survived was shaky, handheld footage from a Dutch fan who filmed the screen from the back of the crowd with his personal VHS camera.
In recent weeks, there was talk that the lead singer of the group Queen had that disease. Mercury said that he wouldn't confirm those rumors until the end for reasons of privacy.
The missing footage became symbolic of everything lost with Mercury's passing. Henry Lytton Cobbold, owner of Knebworth House, later called it one of the best Queen performances he'd ever witnessed, making the loss even more devastating. The oversight represented more than just administrative incompetence. It was the permanent loss of Mercury's final live performance, leaving only fragmented memories and inferior recordings as proof of what many consider to be one of Queen's greatest shows. The man who had given everything to his craft deserved better documentation of his final bow. But instead, the moment vanished into history, like the performer himself would 5 years later. By spring 1987, Mercury's worst fears had been confirmed in the most devastating way possible. A biopsy performed on a suspicious lesion that had appeared on his shoulder revealed the truth he had been dreading. He was HIV positive, and the disease had already progressed to full-blown AIDS. The diagnosis came at a time when the condition was still widely misunderstood, heavily stigmatized, and carried what amounted to a death sentence. Mercury's decision to keep it secret was both understandable and tragic, reflecting the era's prejudices and his own need for privacy. Mercury chose to confide only in his innermost circle, creating a web of secrecy that would define his remaining years. His bandmates didn't learn of the diagnosis until May 1989, nearly 2 years after the fact, though they had suspected something was seriously wrong for months. Brian May later described feeling that something was off, but being unable to pinpoint exactly what was happening to their larger-than-life frontman. The man who had always been the energy source of Queen was gradually becoming more withdrawn, his legendary stamina replaced by a fatigue that he couldn't shake no matter how much he rested. The British tabloids, particularly The Sun, had been pursuing rumors about Mercury's health since 1986, with the ruthless persistence of sharks sensing blood. They hired photographers to follow him, published wild speculation about his condition, and created a media circus around his private life that made normal existence nearly impossible. The relentless pursuit forced Mercury to become increasingly reclusive, spending more time at his homes in London and Montreux, away from prying eyes and telephoto lenses. What the public saw was a gradual disappearance from the spotlight. Queen announced they would no longer tour, breaking the traditional cycle of album-tour-album that had defined their career for over a decade. Mercury claimed he wanted to explore different creative directions and break away from the repetitive nature of touring, but those close to him knew the real reason. The physical demands of live performance were becoming impossible as the disease progressed, and the elaborate stage shows that had made Queen famous were now beyond his failing body's capabilities.
But he looked like a skeleton towards the end.
The isolation took an increasingly severe toll on Mercury's mental state as the months passed. Friends described him as becoming more paranoid about his appearance, wearing heavy makeup even in private to hide the effects of his illness. He stopped attending social events that had once energized him, and rarely left his homes except for essential medical appointments and recording sessions. The gregarious performer who had thrived on human connection was slowly retreating from the world, creating a prison of secrecy that protected his dignity but cost him the support he desperately needed.
Thank you, beautiful people. You've been a tremendous, you've been a really special audience. Thank you very much. Good night, sweet dreams. We love you.
February 18th, 1990, marked the last time the public would see Freddie Mercury alive in person, and the contrast to his former self was shocking to those who witnessed it. The occasion was the Brit Awards at the Dominion Theatre in London, where Queen was receiving the prestigious award for Outstanding Contribution to British Music. Mercury's appearance stunned those who hadn't seen him in months. His once robust frame had become skeletal, his face gaunt and hollow, and his usual vibrant energy was noticeably diminished to a fraction of its former power. Brian May handled most of the speaking duties that evening, delivering the acceptance speech while Mercury stood silently beside him, a shadow of the commanding presence who had once owned every stage he stepped onto. When Mercury finally stepped forward to the microphone, his contribution was heartbreakingly brief, a simple thank you and good night, delivered in a voice that was barely audible over the polite applause.
Terry, got your sausages? I've got my sausages. Got your sausages? Okay.
The contrast between this frail figure and the commanding performer who had owned the stage at Live Aid just 5 years earlier was devastating to witness. Photographs from that evening told a story that words couldn't capture. Mercury's clothes hung loosely on his diminished frame like a scarecrow's outfit, and even heavy stage makeup couldn't completely hide the toll his illness was taking on his once handsome features. His eyes, which had once sparkled with mischief and energy, now appeared tired and distant. Yet somehow he maintained his dignity throughout the ceremony, managing a wan smile for the cameras and graciously accepting congratulations from fellow musicians who were clearly concerned about his condition. The after-party was equally telling for those who knew what to look for. Mercury, who had once been the absolute life of every gathering, stayed only briefly before retreating to the safety of his home. Those who managed to speak with him that night described a man who was putting on the bravest possible face while clearly struggling with his deteriorating condition. He seemed to be conserving every ounce of energy just to make it through the evening's obligations. Media speculation reached an absolute fever pitch following the Brit Awards ceremony. The tabloids published devastating side-by-side photos comparing Mercury's appearance from different years, with headlines that barely stopped short of declaring him dead. The visual evidence was overwhelming, yet Mercury and Queen's management continued to deny any serious health issues with statements that seemed increasingly hollow as time passed. The facade was becoming impossible to maintain, but they would persist in their denials until the very end, protecting Mercury's privacy at the cost of mounting public speculation that grew more invasive with each passing day. May 30th, 1991, brought perhaps the most poignant and heartbreaking moment in music video history, though few realized its significance at the time. Mercury arrived at Limestone Studios in London to film what would unknowingly become his final appearance on camera for Queen's haunting ballad, "These Are the Days of Our Lives."
On behalf of the group, I'd like to say thank you very much to everyone within the industry.
The video was deliberately filmed in black and white, ostensibly for artistic reasons, but the real purpose was to hide the full extent of Mercury's deteriorating condition from a world that was growing increasingly suspicious about his health. Directors Rudi Dolezal and Hannes Rossacker had been specifically warned to keep the shoot as brief as possible due to Mercury's failing health and limited energy reserves. Despite his obvious weakness and the pain he was clearly experiencing, Mercury insisted on multiple takes for crucial scenes, particularly for the final moment where he looks directly into the camera. That haunting moment where he whispers the words, "I still love you," to his fans while staring straight into their souls would become one of the most devastating farewells in entertainment history. Behind-the-scenes footage, discovered years later during extensive archival research, revealed the shocking reality of Mercury's condition that the black and white filming had successfully hidden. Color film showed how frighteningly thin he had become, his skin pale and drawn tight over his bones like parchment.
I did too many movements. I think so too. But I just wanted to see. No, I know. I'm just putting my I just want to see because it doesn't look crying. It doesn't look.
He wore a waistcoat decorated with pictures of cats, a thoughtful gift from costume designer Diana Mosley, and had to be physically supported between takes as his strength ebbed and flowed unpredictably throughout the day. Brian May wasn't present for the original filming, as he was conducting a promotional tour in America and couldn't be recalled in time. His segments were filmed weeks later and digitally inserted into the video through careful editing. The other band members present that day, Roger Taylor and John Deacon, struggled visibly to maintain their professional composure while watching their dear friend's obvious suffering. The atmosphere on set was heavy with unspoken grief and the knowledge that they were likely documenting Mercury's final performance. The video's lyrics took on devastating new meaning in light of Mercury's deteriorating condition, transforming what might have been a simple nostalgic song into a prophetic farewell. Lines about how the days are gone now and time waits for no one became tragically literal rather than merely wistful.
In recent weeks, there was talk that the lead singer of the group Queen had that disease. Mercury said that he wouldn't confirm those rumors until the end for reasons of privacy.
Mercury's performance, though clearly labored and requiring enormous effort, remained emotionally powerful and authentic, proving that his artistry could transcend even the most severe physical limitations. The whispered, "I still love you," at the video's end, became his final gift to the millions of fans who had supported him throughout his career. A message of gratitude that would resonate long after his voice was silenced forever. In 1990, during the recording sessions for what would become Queen's final album with Mercury titled Innuendo, the ailing singer faced perhaps his most demanding vocal challenge.
While we rule by blind madness and pure greed.
Yet, Brian May had written an ambitious song called The Show Must Go On, but as he listened to his demo recordings, he began to worry seriously whether Mercury would be physically capable of singing it. The melody demanded powerful high notes, sustained passages, and an emotional intensity that would have tested even a healthy vocalist at the peak of their abilities. The song had emerged from a jam session between John Deacon and Roger Taylor, who were playing around with a chord progression that caught May's attention. Something about the sequence struck him as potentially important, and he developed it into a full composition with a bridge inspired by Pachelbel's canon. The theme of perseverance in the face of adversity seemed perfect for their current situation, though none of them discussed the obvious parallels to Mercury's battle with AIDS.
Freddie in his last days was like, okay guys, I'm not going to be here long, just give me stuff to sing. I'll sing, you know, write me stuff in the back of a cigarette packet, whatever, just give me...
When May finally presented the completed demo to Mercury, expressing his serious concerns about the vocal demands and suggesting they might need to simplify the arrangement, Mercury's response was both defiant and heartbreaking. The singer listened to the track once, asked for a bottle of vodka, downed it in a single gulp, and declared with characteristic determination that he would complete the recording no matter what it cost him physically. What followed was one of the most extraordinary vocal performances in rock history, captured while Mercury was literally fighting for his life. The recording session became the stuff of legend among those fortunate enough to witness it. Mercury propped himself against the mixing desk for physical support, summoning reserves of strength that seemed impossible given his visibly deteriorating condition. Take after take, his voice soared through the demanding passages with increasing power and emotion, each performance somehow more compelling than the last. Engineers and band members watched in amazement as Mercury channeled his pain and determination into a vocal performance that defied all medical logic. The lyrics of "The Show Must Go On" became Mercury's personal manifesto, a statement of artistic defiance in the face of mortality. Lines about makeup flaking but smiles staying on reflected his daily reality of covering his illness with cosmetics and maintaining public appearances. The central phrase, "The show must go on," embodied his unwavering determination to continue creating music despite knowing his time was severely limited. Released in October 1991, just 6 weeks before Mercury's death, the song reached number 16 in the UK charts and became an anthem for anyone facing seemingly insurmountable challenges. Its music video consisted entirely of clips from previous Queen videos, as Mercury was far too ill to film new footage, creating an unintentional retrospective of his career that spanned from 1981 to 1991 and served as a poignant reminder of all the music that would never be made. May 16, 1991 marked the final recording sessions of Freddie Mercury's extraordinary life, taking place at the familiar surroundings of Mountain Studios in Montreux, Switzerland. He arrived to work on a deeply personal song called "Mother Love," co-written with Brian May, that would prove to be his musical swan song. The lyrics spoke with heartbreaking vulnerability about longing for safety, comfort, and care, with Mercury singing about wanting peace before he died, words that carried devastating weight given his deteriorating condition. The recording process was achingly slow and emotionally draining for everyone involved. Mercury could only manage short periods in the studio before overwhelming exhaustion forced him to rest, sometimes for hours at a time. His once mighty voice, though still recognizable and capable of moments of beauty, lacked the power and control that had defined his career for over 2 decades. Each line required multiple takes, not because he was pursuing perfection as he had in healthier days, but because his failing strength made vocal consistency nearly impossible to achieve. Brian May later described the sessions as both inspiring and heartbreaking, watching his friend pour everything he had left into these final recordings. Mercury would arrive at the studio with tremendous determination, sit at the piano or stand at the microphone, and give absolutely everything he had to each take. The lyrics they were working on seemed to reflect Mercury's innermost thoughts about mortality, family, and the universal human need for unconditional love and acceptance.
I've got it. Got what? AIDS.
After completing 2 emotionally charged verses that captured both vulnerability and strength, Mercury told May he needed to go home and rest, promising to return the next day to finish the song that meant so much to both of them. His words were casual, as if he were simply taking a brief break from a routine recording session. He gathered his things slowly, said goodbye to the engineers in May, and left Mountain Studios for what would be the final time. He never returned to complete the recording, leaving Mother Love as a haunting fragment that would stand as his final vocal performance. The studio became a shrine to Mercury's unwavering dedication to his craft. Even in his final days.
In recent weeks, there was talk that the lead singer of the group Queen had that disease. Mercury said that he wouldn't confirm those rumors until the end for reasons of privacy.
When walking across a room required enormous effort, he insisted on giving everything to his music without asking for special treatment or accommodations. Engineers described watching him struggle to reach the microphone, refusing assistance, determined to complete his artistic vision before time ran out. The song's eventual completion featured samples from throughout Queen's career, including Mercury's famous vocal improvisation from Wembley 1986 and snippets from his very first recording under the pseudonym Larry Lurex in 1972, creating a haunting circular narrative of a life that began and ended with music. Brian May would later complete the third verse himself, singing Mercury's melody and following his lyrical framework, creating a touching collaboration that bridged life and death. November 22nd, 1991, brought the statement that stunned the world and finally broke the silence that had surrounded Freddie Mercury's condition for nearly 5 years. After years of fervent denial, media speculation, and increasingly obvious physical decline, Mercury finally confirmed what many had suspected, but none had dared to voice publicly. Through his publicist, he released a carefully worded statement announcing that he had AIDS and had been fighting the disease privately for some time, asking for understanding and privacy in his final days. The statement was deliberately brief but powerfully direct, explaining that he had kept his diagnosis private, primarily to protect his family, friends, and colleagues from the unnecessary attention and media circus that would inevitably follow such a revelation. Mercury expressed his sincere hope that his public acknowledgement of the disease would help others facing similar battles, while simultaneously requesting that the media and public respect his privacy during what he knew would be his final days on Earth. The timing of the announcement was carefully calculated and deeply personal. Mercury knew with absolute certainty that he had very little time left and wanted to control the narrative surrounding his death, rather than have the truth discovered and sensationalized after he was gone. The statement gave him the opportunity to speak directly to his millions of fans one final time, on his own terms and in his own words, without the filter of tabloid speculation or medical rumors. Media response was immediate, overwhelming, and global in scope. Within hours of the statement's release, camera crews had surrounded his London home at Garden Lodge, while newspapers around the world began preparing obituaries, retrospectives, and special editions. The man who had spent years carefully hiding his condition suddenly found himself at the center of a massive global conversation about AIDS awareness, celebrity privacy, and the intersection of public and private life for major entertainers. Inside Garden Lodge.
In recent weeks, there was talk that the lead singer of the group Queen had that disease. Mercury said that he wouldn't confirm those rumors until the end for reasons of privacy.
Mercury spent his final hours surrounded by the people who loved him most. His long-term partner Jim Hutton and his closest friend Mary Austin took care of him as his condition rapidly deteriorated, while other friends and family members kept vigil nearby. Despite his severe weakness and the obvious approach of death, those present described Mercury maintaining his characteristic sense of humor and personal dignity until the very end. The house that had been his sanctuary for years became his final refuge, protected from the media storm raging outside its walls. The statement's release marked the end of one of the most sustained and successful privacy campaigns in entertainment history, but it also began a new chapter in AIDS awareness that would outlast Mercury himself. His courage in finally speaking the truth, even with death imminent, would inspire countless others to seek treatment, reduce stigma, and approach the disease with honesty rather than shame. November 24th, 1991, began like many others for those caring for Mercury at Garden Lodge, but it would end with the music world losing one of its greatest voices forever. His condition had been declining steadily since the public announcement 2 days earlier, but few expected the end to come with such devastating swiftness. Mercury was confined to his bed, requiring assistance with the most basic functions, as his body finally succumbed to the AIDS-related complications that had been ravaging his system for months.
I did too many movements. I think so too. But I just wanted to see. I just want to see because it doesn't look crying. It doesn't look.
The morning brought particular difficulties that highlighted just how severely the disease had weakened him. When caregivers attempted to move Mercury in his bed to make him more comfortable, one of his bones simply snapped from the minimal pressure, causing him to cry out in excruciating pain. His body had become so fragile and depleted that normal movement had become dangerous, and the sound of his anguish was devastating for those who had known him as a seemingly invincible performer who could command stadium crowds. As the day progressed relentlessly, Mercury's breathing became increasingly labored and irregular. Bronchial pneumonia, a common and often fatal complication of AIDS, was filling his lungs with fluid and making each breath a struggle. His partner Jim Hutton later recalled with heartbreaking clarity that Mercury's final coherent words were a simple, dignified request to be taken to the bathroom, showing how the disease had reduced the mighty performer to needing help with the most basic human needs and functions.
But he looked like a skeleton towards the end.
The atmosphere in the house was heavy with grief and anticipation as family and friends maintained their vigil around Mercury's bedside. Mary Austin, who had been by his side through decades of friendship and romantic connection, held his hand as his breathing became more shallow. Jim Hutton, who had loved Mercury through his final years, stayed close by, offering comfort and presence during these most difficult hours. Mercury fell into a coma that evening and never regained consciousness, slipping away peacefully, surrounded by love and care. At 45 years old, one of rock music's greatest voices was silenced forever by a disease that had claimed too many talented lives during that devastating era. The official cause of death was listed as bronchial pneumonia, resulting from AIDS complications, though those present knew he had been fighting multiple health issues for months. News of Mercury's death spread with lightning speed across the globe, carried by television, radio, and newspapers to millions of shocked fans. Within hours of the announcement, Garden Lodge was surrounded by mourning fans who had gathered spontaneously to pay their respects to the man who had provided the soundtrack to their lives. The wall outside his home became an impromptu shrine, quickly covered with flowers, photographs, handwritten tributes, and lyrics from his songs, creating a touching memorial that would persist for years to come. April 20th, 1992, witnessed one of the largest gatherings of rock royalty in music history, as Wembley Stadium became the site of an unprecedented celebration of Freddie Mercury's life and legacy. The Freddie Mercury tribute concert for AIDS awareness served a dual purpose that would have pleased Mercury immensely, honoring his memory while raising desperately needed funds for AIDS research at a time when the disease remained heavily stigmatized and underfunded by government agencies worldwide. The concert featured an absolutely unprecedented lineup of performers, each taking turns with the surviving members of Queen to perform Mercury's greatest hits and showcase the enormous influence he had wielded over multiple generations of musicians. David Bowie, George Michael, Elton John, Robert Plant, Robert Daltrey, and dozens of other major artists paid tribute to the man who had influenced their careers and changed the landscape of popular music forever. The show was broadcast live to over 1 billion viewers in 76 countries, making it one of the most watched events in television history. Elton John's emotionally charged performance of "The Show Must Go On" became one of the concert's most powerful moments, as he struggled visibly to maintain his composure while singing Mercury's prophetic final words. The sight of John, himself a close friend of Mercury's, fighting back tears while delivering those haunting lyrics, highlighted just how deeply Mercury's death had affected the entire music community. Many performers were visibly moved throughout the evening, with some breaking down completely during their tributes. The technical and logistical challenges of coordinating so many major artists were enormous, but the concert proceeded smoothly thanks to meticulous planning and the shared determination of everyone involved to honor Mercury properly. Each performance was a masterclass in musicianship, with artists pushing themselves to deliver their absolute best in tribute to a man who had never accepted anything less than perfection from himself or others. The concert raised significant funds for AIDS research and awareness programs, fulfilling Mercury's expressed hope that his death might somehow help others fighting the same devastating disease. The Mercury Phoenix Trust, established specifically in his honor, continues to fund AIDS prevention and education programs worldwide, ensuring that his legacy extends far beyond his musical contributions. Perhaps most importantly, the tribute concert helped remove some of the debilitating stigma surrounding AIDS by celebrating Mercury's life and openly acknowledging his battle with the disease. By gathering the world's biggest stars to honor someone who had died of AIDS, the event encouraged honest discussion about a topic that had been shrouded in shame, misinformation, and deliberate ignorance. The concert proved that AIDS victims deserved compassion and respect rather than judgment and fear, helping to shift public perception during a crucial period in the fight against the disease. The years following Mercury's death gradually revealed the full extent of what the world had lost when his voice was silenced forever. Unreleased recordings, including the haunting Made in Heaven album compiled from his final sessions, demonstrated that even while dying, Mercury had continued creating music that pushed artistic boundaries and explored new emotional territories. His unwavering dedication to his craft, maintained literally until his final breath, became the stuff of legend and inspiration for countless musicians who followed. The controversial decision to keep his diagnosis secret for so long sparked ongoing debates about celebrity privacy versus public responsibility that continue to this day. Some critics argued that Mercury could have significantly helped reduce AIDS stigma and encouraged earlier treatment by speaking out about his condition, potentially saving lives through increased awareness. Others passionately defended his right to face his illness privately, arguing that no one should be forced to become a poster child for any disease, regardless of their fame or influence. Mercury's death marked a crucial turning point in how AIDS was perceived and discussed by mainstream society. His status as a beloved entertainer who transcended traditional boundaries forced many people to confront their deep-seated prejudices about the disease and those it affected. The man who had always challenged social conventions through his flamboyant performances and unapologetic authenticity continued to break down barriers even in death, forcing conversations that had been avoided for too long. The missing footage from Knebworth became a powerful symbol of everything lost with Mercury's passing. That final performance, witnessed by 120,000 ecstatic fans, but inadequately documented due to human error, represented the ephemeral nature of live music and the irreplaceable moments that disappear forever when great artists leave us. The technical failure that cost the world that footage seemed almost deliberately cruel, depriving future generations of the chance to witness Mercury's final bow. Garden Lodge, Mercury's London sanctuary, remained a pilgrimage site for devoted fans from every corner of the world for years after his death. The wall outside the property, continuously covered with heartfelt tributes, flowers, and graffiti declaring eternal love, became an informal monument to his enduring impact on millions of lives. Mary Austin, who inherited the property according to Mercury's wishes, eventually had to install security measures and regularly clean the wall to protect what remained of his privacy. The true tragedy wasn't simply that Freddie Mercury died far too young, but that he spent his final years living in enforced secrecy, unable to share his monumental struggle with the fans who had always supported him unconditionally. His silence, born from an era that cruelly stigmatized both his sexuality and his disease, robbed the world of his voice precisely when it was most desperately needed. In the end, the man who had taught millions to embrace their authentic selves and live without apology was forced to conceal his greatest battle, dying quietly while the world speculated and whispered. The price of that silence was immeasurable, leaving questions about what might have been different if society had been ready to hear his truth. Anyway, that's it for the video, folks. Bye.